Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we extract the crucial insights you need to stay ahead. Today, we're looking at something pretty big, maybe even counterintuitive. It's this massive shift happening with the world's biggest companies. They're moving away from traditional real estate.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Imagine signing a, say, 15-year contract today, fixed, knowing you absolutely cannot change it, no matter what happens with the world or, your own company.
That kind of commitment, that rigidity, it used to be the gold standard, right? Stability.
Exactly. For global corporations, that was the goal.
Yeah.
But now, it looks more like a financial death sentence in some ways.
So the office space is less a status symbol now.
Totally. It's becoming a strategic lever.
Mm-hmm.
For decades, the long-term lease meant permanence, stability. Now that very stability. It's seen as maybe the biggest obstacle to being responsive, to being agile.
We've been digging into source material from leading industry analysts, real estate reports, and they all point to this huge transformation.
Yeah, the scale is significant.
We're talking about a really fundamental strategic rethink of corporate real estate. I mean, look at this statistic. Already, 55% of global companies renting space, they call them global occupiers, are using flexible workspace solutions.
And there's another 17% planning to jump in very soon.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
Our mission today is pretty straightforward.
Mm.
Let's understand the forces, the sort of structural drivers making this pivot almost necessary.
Why?
Why are big companies starting to see office space less as this giant fixed asset tying up cash
Right.
and more as a flexible, responsive resource they can deploy, almost instantly when their needs change?
Okay, let's unpack that, this crack in the old model.
Yeah.
What are the main drivers making these 10, 15-year leases feel so outdated?
Well, the number one force has to be the huge change in how we actually work.
Right.
Post-pandemic, hybrid work isn't just a nice-to-have anymore.
It is expected.
It's absolutely an employee expectation. The data shows, over 60% of employees want that split schedule, home and office. So think about those traditional headquarters. Designed for everyone in, 5 days a week. Suddenly, they look massively inefficient.
Right. So companies are stuck, aren't they? They need some physical space for collaboration, for culture, but they also need to shrink that footprint when half the team is remote.
It's a huge balancing act.
And an old school lease just can't handle that kind of flex.
It really can't. And then you layer on top of that the economic volatility.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about the last few years. Inflation, interest rates all over the place, global uncertainty.
Yeah, predictability is gone.
Exactly. So committing to fixed cost for 10, 15 years, that exposes companies to enormous financial risk. CFOs are definitely looking at those long leases now and seeing these huge liabilities they can't get rid of if, say, a recession hits.
Okay, and technology's role in this. Is it really the enabler? Cloud computing, collaboration platforms? Or is it just a convenient reason to make the change?
Oh, it's absolutely the enabler.
Yeah.
No question. Technology has essentially removed the geographical necessity of the office for many roles.
Right.
Secure connections, cloud access.
Intelligent office systems. It all means teams can be spread out globally but still work together effectively, stay synchronized. The office model now has to kind of adapt around the tech, not the other way around like it used to be.
And that tech feeds directly into globalization, too, and speed, right?
Yeah.
If a big company wants to open a new office, maybe a sales team in Singapore.
Yeah, big example.
A traditional lease means months of negotiation, lawyers, build-out time.
Just kills their speed, kills the execution. Flexible offices, they solve that instantly. You get immediate plug-and-play setups.
So when speed and agility are everything competitively.
Yeah. Those lengthy real estate deals become a massive time sink. Too expensive in terms of time. Flex space lets you get in fast, minimal financial hit up front.
Okay, let's touch on something else that, sometimes it feels like lip service, but it genuinely drives huge budget decisions. ESG, sustainability.
Right.
Traditional offices can be incredibly wasteful, energy-wise, space-wise. How does the flexible model help with a company's environmental footprint? Well, it's almost built into the model. It's a structural benefit. With your own traditional lease, you're managing all your own utilities, right? Often trying to optimize energy use across floors that might be half empty.
Yeah, inefficient.
Very. In a shared, flexible workspace, the provider manages the entire building's energy efficiency, heating, cooling, lighting, usually much more centrally and effectively. They actually have an incentive to optimize it across everyone.
So the model itself helps companies meet their sustainability goals.
It really does. This centralized management often makes getting things like LEED or WELL certifications easier too. Companies moving into Flex aren't starting from zero. They're kind of buying into a system that's already geared towards higher efficiency and lower impact. Yeah, it helps tick those ESG boxes much faster.
So connecting the dots here, it really feels like the old way, built for predictability, is just fundamentally broken for today's world. Let's zero in on the specific weaknesses. What are the main liabilities of that traditional lease that companies are so desperate to escape?
Rigidity is still number one. But let's talk about the cost of that rigidity. Signing a 10 or 15-year deal means you're paying for that square footage, whether you need it all or not.
Right, whether you have 100 people or 1,000.
Exactly. And in this hybrid world, companies are waking up to the fact that they might be paying rent on, say, 40%, even more. Completely unused space for years and years.
And it's not just the base rent, is it? That's the trap.
That's the hidden killer, absolutely. Traditional leases mean massive upfront capital spending, CapEx. You have to fund the whole fit-out. Design, construction, every single desk, chair, server.
Huge initial outlay.
Huge. And then you've got the ongoing costs that creep up.
Yeah.
Those infamous rent escalation clauses. Your payment goes up automatically every year, no matter what the market's doing. You're basically carrying debt on a space designed for an organization that might look totally different in 5 years.
It also sounds like a massive administrative headache.
Oh, it is. I doubt any CEO or senior leader signed up thinking, great, now I get to manage cleaning contracts and coordinate maintenance vendors.
Huh? Probably not.
But traditional leases dump that entire burden on the company. Managing repairs, cleaning, security, utilities. It all pulls focus, distracts leadership and valuable staff from the core business, from actual growth.
That's a great point. You're paying highly skilled people to worry about the air conditioning instead of innovating.
That distraction. It's a major hidden cost. Flexible offices, by centralizing all that support, just wipe that distraction off the table.
Okay, the downsides are crystal clear. So let's flip to the solution. How do flexible offices step in as the ultimate fix? How do they deliver that agility and efficiency?
Scalability. That's the absolute core difference. It shifts real estate from being the static anchor holding you down to being a dynamic resource you can adjust. You can easily, and I mean really easily, scale up your space when you're growing. Add desks, add offices.
And just as importantly,
you can scale down almost instantly if things get tight during economic uncertainty. Your space use lines up perfectly with your business strategy in real time instead of, fighting against it for years.
And the financial model completely flips too, doesn't it? We talked about CapEx being a killer in the old model. How does flex space compare financially?
It transforms that huge upfront CapEx hit into a predictable, manageable monthly operating expense, OpEx. You pay for what you use, the space and the services, often month to month or maybe year to year.
So you preserve capital.
Massively. You avoid those crippling initial build-out costs. That frees up a ton of cash that can go back into the actual business, R&D, marketing, hiring talent.
And the speed advantage for market entry we touched on, it's undeniable. Need an office in a new city next week? Flex space is ready to go. Fully serviced, plug and play.
And that speed is a direct competitive edge. Plus, think about the operational simplicity. No more juggling separate bills for utilities, maintenance, cleaning, security.
One bill.
Often, yeah. Consolidated billing, streamlined contracts. It just removes that whole operational management nightmare we talked about.
This must also help with business continuity, right? Reducing risk.
Absolutely. Shorter-term commitments and having potentially more distributed locations mean you're not betting the farm on one single headquarters building.
Good point.
If there's a crisis, it could be a natural disaster, a political shift, even just a major power outage in one area, companies can relocate teams quickly or adjust their space needs without huge financial penalties or logistical chaos. It builds resilience.
And we can't forget the employee side of this. It's not just about cost and flexibility for the company. What about attracting and keeping talent?
Crucial point. These flex spaces are usually designed to be really appealing. Modern, high-quality fit-outs, communal lounges, wellness areas, decent coffee.
Things people actually want in an office.
Exactly. Things that make the commute worthwhile, especially for hybrid workers. That space has to be noticeably better, more functional, maybe more inspiring than their home setup. Flex offices really focus on that experience. They foster community, networking, a sense of belonging, things you can lose in a sterile, half-empty corporate building.
So it enhances productivity, satisfaction, the flip side of the hybrid coin, as you said.
Precisely.
Okay, but let me push back slightly here. If you're outsourcing something as fundamental as your workspace, isn't there a risk? Maybe losing some control over your specific corporate culture, or becoming too dependent on a third-party provider. Is that trade-off always worth it?
That's a really important question. And it's definitely something leadership has to weigh up. It is a trade-off. You trade some granular control over the physical infrastructure, sure, but you gain immense efficiency and strategic flexibility. The way companies seem to be mitigating that culture risk is by focusing on how they use the space, making sure the way teams interact within the flexible office, the branding they bring in, the events they hold, that it all reinforces their specific culture, even if they don't own the walls.
So you offload the management headache, but actively manage the cultural experience within the space.
Exactly. And right now, the overwhelming consensus seems to be that those gains in agility and efficiency far outweigh the minor loss of direct facilities control for most companies.
That really synthesizes it well. The core finding here is that agility is just. It's the #1 priority now for corporations.
Absolutely. This shift to flex isn't really just a real estate trend. It's a fundamental business strategy. It's driven by the need to navigate uncertainty, preserve capital, and respond quickly. Global brands are choosing flexibility over rigidity because it lets them adapt to markets, to growth, to how their own workforce wants to operate.
So that traditional corporate lease, once the ultimate symbol of stability and success, it's being seriously reevaluated, even abandoned, across almost every sector. The question isn't really if companies use flex space anymore.
No, the question now is how much of their portfolio becomes flexible. What's the right mix?
Which leads us to a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on.
Yeah, think about this. If flexibility and adaptability are truly the new engines of business success, and we're seeing this huge move away from fixed long-term real estate, what other major fixed costs, what other long-term strategic anchors might global corporations be forced to rethink next?
Interesting. Like,
Well, maybe things like massive owned IT infrastructure, long-term vehicle fleet leases, even traditional manufacturing setups. Could we see a similar pivot in those areas towards ultra-flexible, maybe outsourced on-demand resources?
that's definitely something to watch closely as the modern way of doing business keeps evolving.